Trends online and on Instagram always seem to be changing, but there are a few that are big right now that I think have some serious staying power. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you some major Instagram trends that are not going anywhere and that will most likely continue to help you grow throughout 2022. So make sure you keep on watching to find out how you can use these trends to your advantage and for your growth throughout this new year. Also, a massive thank you to 99 Designs by Vista for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you keep watching to later on in the video because I'm going to tell you all about how you can win a $500 credit towards your next project on 99 Designs. Hello and welcome back, my friends. If you're new here, my name's Katie and I'm really excited to talk about some Instagram trends with you today. I know for a lot of content creators, keeping up with the trends on Instagram and TikTok can be one of the biggest challenges, especially for some of y'all who are doing this part-time or as a side hustle and you're like, I just can't spend my whole day scrolling to try to observe trends as they pop up. I totally get that and feel that struggle, which is why I'm hoping that today's video can be a bit of a cheat sheet for you. So if you're feeling a bit out of touch with Instagram trends, then this is gonna be a bit of a compilation list for you so you can kind of add this to your checklist of types of content that you're gonna wanna make when you batch content for your next month or whatever. So of course, when we think of Instagram trends, the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of us is, of course, Reels, which makes sense because as we all know, Reels is exactly like TikTok for the most part, and TikTok is really deep into this culture of trends. Every so often we see new audios, new skits, new concepts, new visual effects pop up and become a really strong trend. And the same thing happens on Instagram Reels. Now, even though the specific audios, the specific concepts might be shifting and changing over time, in my experience as a very experienced TikTok and Reels consumer, there really are sort of three main types of Reels trends that you can jump on at any moment that will give you a lot of exposure and engagement. And for the viewers that have been around for a good long while, you'll find this interesting as well. When I was thinking about these three main pillars of Reels trends, I realized that they line up with a concept that I developed like a couple of years ago around ways that you can deliver value to your audience on Instagram. So if you've been watching me since like this content calendar video, for instance, I talk about it a lot in this one. The three main ways that I think you can serve your audience through your content on Instagram is encouragement, education, and entertainment. And these three main Reels trends archetypes sort of line up with those three different ways of serving your audience. So the point is, these three trends are really accessible for you at any time to use and take advantage of to see that burst of reach and engagement. And at any given time, it might just be like a different popular song or, audio from a TV show or whatever that sort of lines up with what I'm talking about. So I'm going to show you some examples that are currently popular right now in January of 2022. But if you're watching this like months into the future, just know you can still use these trends. You might just want to do like a little bit of scrolling to see what audio is, the popular one du jour. Okay, so starting off with the encouragement archetype of Reels. There's always some sort of trend going around that is really visual, aesthetic, sort of inspiring. Normally, it's a really fast-paced photo montage, which is a really easy one for any type of creator to take advantage of. You don't need to have a lot of video clips for this or anything. Right now, at the beginning of a new year, this audio is really popular. It's kind of the 2021 recap audio of Adele's song, mashed up with Bruno Mars. And basically, people just set their video clips or their photos to it really fast to kind of give you an overall impression of what their year looked like. This isn't just a yearly thing. There's almost always some kind of audio going around on Instagram that kind of is vibey or inspirational that you can grab and just put a bunch of photos to it. And this can be applicable whether you're trying to share like travel content, lifestyle content, or if you have a business. Like if you have a product-based business, this is a really great opportunity to show a bunch of images of your products. There's really a lot of different ways that you can do this photo montage kind of inspirational aesthetic trend. It all just depends on who your audience is and what your goal is with your reel. So that's under what I would call the encouragement or inspiration banner. The next main reel trend archetype that you could always find floating around on Instagram Reels is the lip syncing skit, which I would file under entertainment. This is a super easy one to do, especially for Reels beginners, because all you need to do is film yourself lip syncing to an audio and then add text over top that is specifically applicable to you or your audience. The main goal with this type of reel is to be relatable and funny. And again, right now I've been seeing a lot of people use this particular audio, but you could really use anything. This sort of format always does well. The third main Reels archetype is education, and normally you see this in the form of a list reel. This is another really great one for beginners, and you could definitely pack a punch and really provide a lot of value in this if you do it right. Basically, you're just gonna lip sync to whatever song is kind of the current trendy one that sort of lends itself well to a list. This one is sort of popular right now. And also, like, I apologize that I can't actually play these songs for you in this video because of copyright, but you can go to Instagram and just like search the song titles I've been listing and you'll be able to listen to them for yourself. Basically, at any given time, there is some type of song going viral on Instagram Reels that lends itself well to a kind of list format. You can just lip sync to that song, point a few places on the screen, add text, and you're good to go. So hopefully that was helpful for you in kind of decoding Reels trends. Really, at any given time, there's three main things you can do: encourage, entertain, educate. Those are kind of the three standard ways of doing it. And honestly, just scrolling on Reels for like 2 minutes, you'll probably come across at least one or two audios that would fit the bill of those three categories. And if not, just go ahead and use the ones that I linked in the description. So that's Reels, but we definitely also see lots of changing trends in the main Instagram feed. So let's talk about some big trends that we're seeing right now that I think are going to continue in the Instagram feed well into the rest of the year. First up, we have carousels. So if you watched my video from 2021 about Instagram trends, then you'll know just how big carousels were in all of 2020 and a lot of 2021 as well. But I actually think that we're seeing some pretty substantial like evolutions in the format that are important to take note of if you want to kind of keep your content up to date and performing at its best. So I think in 2020 and the beginning of 2021, we saw a lot of really in-depth Reels carousels that were informational. Obviously, we saw a lot about like social issues and that kind of thing. But I think that as the year went on, we started to see an evolution towards even more minimalist and straight to the point carousels that didn't have quite as much reading. So still, obviously, text is at the forefront here, but they're not like really long paragraphs or anything like that. And I think that we are continuing to see a drop off of what I would consider like the Canva style carousel, though know that I kind of say that in like a tongue-in-cheek sort of sense because you can use Canva to create any type of design you want, but the point is like that sort of overly stylized, lots of extra bits and bobs on the template. I feel like that is kind of becoming passé, like aren't really drawn in by that style anymore. And instead what we're seeing be really successful is minimalist, bold, colorful, short amount of text, really to the point. That is what's performing well in terms of carousels right now. So here are a few examples that I wanted to show you. This purple one here has been popping up on my Instagram Explore feed every single time I open it for the past like 2 weeks. So obviously it's like performing well. You can see it's super minimalist, really just like straight to the point. And what I think was really smart about what Danielle did here was actually add a like advertisement on the end. So that's obviously going to be really successful for her because it's right in the Explore page and people get to the end of the carousel, they might even go and buy her product. So that's genius in my opinion. Another big change that I'm seeing to the carousel trends right now is rather than just like that sort of like I was saying before, overly done kind of Canva vibe, we're seeing more people just add text straight on top of pictures. So here's a really good example from one of my favorite Instagrammers, the Birds Papaya. I think this is especially effective for all y'all personal brands out there who know that you get the most likes, most engagement when you show your face. Well, this is a really great way to lean into also comments, saves, shares, that side of engagement by adding that extra value with the text. And here's a really great hybrid example that I found from Tamasha, who has her photo on the very first slide and then continues with this really clean, punchy, bold, minimalist sort of vibe to her carousel and provides a lot of value. So I guess if I was going to describe the carousel changing trends overall, it would be going from something like this to something more like this. Hopefully you get what I'm saying here. Another big trend that we're seeing with carousels right now, which I definitely think is going to continue into the new year, is the most successful carousels have a mix of photos and videos. Two creators that I think do this super well are some of my favorite lifestyle creators from Seattle, Emma's Edition and Mad Cray. So they're both amazing photographers, models. Like, they have really high quality images that you see right away, you know it's them. It really draws you in. This is like magazine level content. But as you scroll through, there's some behind the scenes videos of their photo shoots. And I think that's especially great for their audience who happen to also be content creators. But even if you're just a straight up lifestyle creator and you're not like doing education or whatever, I still think that would be a really interesting piece to add to your carousel that will kind of generate more engagement for you. And we know that Instagram is really pushing video these days. So if you can integrate a little behind the scenes video into your carousels that otherwise would have, traditionally been photos, I think that you'll see more success with that. So to summarize our feed trends here, first of all, I think focusing on carousels is going to be really important. Single images in the feed and single videos in the feed, I think, are a little bit lackluster these days. So I would primarily focus your strategy on reels and carousels. And then in those carousels, try to do either bold, punchy, minimalist graphics or photo, video mixed all together. We all know Instagram is a super visual platform, so it would be remiss for me not to mention the overall design trends that we're seeing on Instagram and across the internet going into 2022. And I am super excited to be partnering with 99 Designs for this portion of the video. We're going to talk through some of the graphic design trends that they've been reporting on their website. They've got this amazing resource for design trends. You can scroll through and read about all of the trends that they're observing and predictions for the new year on their site. But also, we are partnering up to give you a chance to win a $500 credit towards your next design project on 99 Designs. So if you felt inspired by any of the trends that I've talked about in this video so far, or any of the ones that we're about to go through, and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'd love to include that in my content, but I'm not a designer and I don't even know where to start, then don't stress, because 99 Designs is there for you. 99 Designs is the go-to graphic design platform by Vista that makes it easy for you to work with professional creative experts from around the world and build your brand through custom, memorable design. You can either hire a specific designer through the site or run a design contest, which I've done in the past in order to get templates for Instagram graphics. There's really a lot of talented people creating over on 99 Designs, and you can have a really substantial design project totally covered if you win this contest of the $500 credit. So if you want to enter, head over to my Instagram page and check out this post, because if you comment and like on that post, you will be entered to win the $500 credit. I'm going to be announcing the winner over on my Instagram. So if you want to be a part of this, make sure you go check out this post. I'm also going to link this in the description so you can find it really easily. But if you just go to my Instagram page, find this image, that's where you can enter. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the top design trends that 99 Designs has been reporting on for the beginning of 2022. Number one, we have line art drawing. This is a personal favorite of mine. You may have noticed that I like to use this style in my videos with my titles sometimes, but it's definitely something that we're seeing become really popular with brands on Instagram as well. It's a really cute, fun, minimalist style that can pretty easily be replicated by you if you want to try something like Procreate, or you could even incorporate it into your Instagram stories by using the draw tool. There's so many different ways that this can be incorporated into lots of different brands and lots of different niches, and it's something that really connects with people right now. So it'll probably help increase your engagement if you use this type of design style with your content. Number two is 90s nostalgia. Honestly, this is no surprise because I feel like a lot of us are feeling kind of nostalgic for the before times lately, and the 90s was like really before, but it's cute, it's fun, it's carefree. I feel like you can really see this coming together in different color combinations that are becoming more popular. Like in the 2010s, we saw a lot more of like light pastels, millennial pink type vibes. And I think with this 90s nostalgia design trend, it's a lot more like bright, bold color combinations and fun boxy fonts with like drop shadows and strokes and that kind of thing. It might not work for everybody's brand to use this design trend on a regular basis, but sprinkling it in here and there might be a fun way to generate some excitement amongst your audience. Speaking of retro, the next major trend is curvy retro fonts. As you may have noticed lately, I've been a big fan of using some funky fonts in the titles of my YouTube videos. I just think it's a fun way to bring some more energy to the video rather than like, I think the previous kind of style that we're seeing was like a very minimalist, you know, something that looks like Times New Roman, just like written really small in the middle of the screen. And you know, that has its time and place too, but there's something fun about these curvy retro fonts that I think can also be really attention grabbing in the Instagram feed. And finally, like I was saying before, we're definitely seeing some shifts in what colors are most popular. So I wanted to end off this little trend report by sharing with you some of the most popular color palettes that we're seeing going into 2022. One of my favorites is adventurous pastels. So like I was saying before, in the 2010s, I feel like we had a lot of like neutral kind of pastel things like the millennial pink vibe, but now I think lavender is one of the most popular colors coming out of 2021 and moving into the new year. And like lavender paired with like teal and yellow, I think is such a fun combination, and that sort of thing seems to be really popular on Instagram as well. Another trend way on the other side of the color spectrum is earthy muted tones, which I also really love. To me, this gives like travel, van life, camping sort of vibes. It just feels like cozy and comfy and nature. I feel like I would sort of associate this with like the cottagecore trend that we're seeing on TikTok. And finally, another big color palette trend that we're seeing is colorful Memphis design. If you're not familiar, Memphis design is one of the defining design styles from the 1980s. So again, kind of a retro fun feel. And I think, like I was saying, again, this is just sort of a response to the 2010 sort of like very minimalist, everything black and white and neutrals. We're now seeing a big shift into more colorful, fun, bold palettes. And these three are just kind of three different approaches to that sort of turning away from a more black and white vibe. I love learning about like the current design trends, and I think when you browse through some of the blog posts on the 99 Designs website, you'll start to see stuff that you're like, oh yeah, I have been seeing that more and more on Instagram lately. And it's just kind of fun to connect those dots and see that this is an overall shift that we're seeing in like general aesthetic preferences. So definitely go check out more of the upcoming design trends over on the 99 Designs website. And like I said before, go and enter that contest over on my Instagram. Okay, and finally, I wanted to make sure that I covered story trends in this video. So what are we seeing that is popular on Instagram stories going into 2022? The biggest shift that I think I saw over 2021, and I think we really settled into this new vibe at the end of last year, and I think that it's probably gonna stick for the majority of this year, and that is doing less talking directly to the camera on Instagram stories and more selfies or other still images with text over top. I don't know about you, but I think a lot of content creators are starting to shift to like the written word over images instead of talking to the camera, because it seems to be a little bit better for audience retention, like keeping people's attention throughout your stories. I personally find that a lot of people that I followed who would do a lot of just talking directly to the camera, especially if they didn't put captions on it, I would just stop watching them or like mute their stories, because you would have like 15 slides of like really long videos and I was just tapping through them anyway. So I personally have really stopped doing that, even though back in 2019 and 2020, I found that I got the best engagement by starting the day with a video talking to the camera for my Instagram stories. Now I do almost exclusively still images or videos that like don't require sound, because a lot of people are tapping through Instagram stories not wanting to like listen to it out loud, and they don't have the patience to like sit through a silent video of you just reading the captions. So I find that it is a lot more efficient and also a lot better at keeping people's attention to just type out what you would have said to the camera in a little caption over top of a selfie. Little tip for you is take a picture, make sure that you reflect the emotions of what you're writing in your face, and then that kind of ties it all together. And I think that's really the best way to communicate with your audience on stories this year. In addition to that, I think a lot of people are starting to appreciate stories as kind of like almost a mood board, sort of like gallery, like curation of like aesthetic images through your life. So, taking photos of your walk outside if you came across some nice like art on the street or something, or like taking a photo of your candle next to your plants or your coffee. Those are the types of like vibes that people really like on Instagram stories. So I think that we're starting to see a little bit more of that like curation sort of show up in stories. It's still more casual than the feed, but I just think that people don't have the attention span for like long videos of people talking like maybe once did. And finally, as always, I would encourage you to use interactive pieces in your Instagram stories. So question boxes, polls, all that kind of thing that continues to be a really popular trend that I don't think is going anywhere because people like to interact. So my friends, that is the trend report for Instagram 2022. I hope you found this helpful to kind of guide what sort of content you might start making moving into this new year. Remember, if you want some help with a design project, 99 Designs by Vista is your go-to, and you can win a $500 credit if you go and enter on this Instagram post. Details are all listed in the caption there, so go check that out. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are having adventures and following your dreams, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!